Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Tolhurst and welcome to the Charlie Tolhurst Show for the 27th of February, now on Sundays. I'm joined by Labour Party supporter Zach Chambers to round up all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello there.
Now, if all you guys were listening on Wednesday, we did a special show because Russia announced the independent breakaway of two Ukrainian states. We believed by our own eyes that an invasion would come, and it has. On Thursday morning, in the early hours, Russia did invade Ukraine, and so far, my thoughts are with all those people in Ukraine right now who are feeling the pressure. All I can say in my opening monologue tonight, the sheer destruction your country is going through at the moment is toxic. Vladimir Putin of Russia should be excluded from all of the world. This man has shown pure and detrimental effect to the world. This man is a powerhouse who wants to go to war with any country, let alone just the Ukrainians. You will know exactly what has been happening around the world. We do not want a war. We want peace. And this is what we're getting. As a result, in Ukraine, people are suffering. Zach, what do you make of the scenes in Ukraine at the moment?
Yeah, I have to agree with every word of your monologue, Charlie. The scenes are totally shocking. They're sad. And this is the sight that, we've not wanted to see. But it's something that we feared might happen. And I'm afraid it has. The civilian casualties are increasing. But I have to say, first of all, Charlie, one of the main things is Ukrainian people and the government are so strong. It's actually unbelievable how strong, how powerful, and how resilient they've been in the course of the last few days since this invasion started. And they have inspired people, the Ukrainian army, the people, the civilians, because of the resistance that they are holding. And the fact is, they are slowing the Russians down. And I couldn't be more proud of their people and the people running the government. President Zelensky, I mean, he is a 21st century hero. He really is. Because the bravery, the determination, it's almost like he isn't scared. He knew what coming, and he's braving it with so much heart and dignity, and there's so much resilience. It's incredible. Russia is now feeling the consequences, I think, and I don't know why they gambled on all of this, because what they've gambled on is that they could just take over the Ukraine in 24, 48 hours. We're on what day? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Day 4, day 5 of this, and they still haven't got what they wanted. So the fact that they haven't got what they wanted is a massive win for Ukraine itself. But now they're having they're almost like trying to do as a cop out to make themselves look good. Go to the negotiation table now with the Ukrainians, which is taking place tomorrow, which I don't think is going to succeed. But I mean, give it a try at least. But I don't think it's going to succeed. But it's just incredible because Russia have literally had wide world condemnation of the actions that they've done. They've managed to unite the whole world in hatred against them. I mean, I've never seen NATO, European allies, the Western allies so united, Charlie, and working so close together to sanction the head out of Russia. I mean, as Boris Johnson said, Russia should be a pariah state. And, whether you're in opposition, whether you're in the government, whether you're actually running the government, it appears that, this sort of thing goes too far. I mean, Russia are going to start feeling sanctions tomorrow. Let me just say that, Charlie. Russia really are going to start.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been kicked out of SWIFT. Their oligarchs are going to be tracked down and targeted. They've been trade exports, everything like that. There's going to be so much financial pain that's going to happen tomorrow, and they're really going to feel it. I mean, like kicking out Swift, for example, and sanctioning the banks and freezing the assets is going to cripple the Russian economy, and I hope it does. I don't want economies to cripple normally, but something like this, they should rot in hell, quite frankly. That's the view of the world, and they're right on this. I mean, look at Zelensky's ratings the past few days. He was negative territory the other day, and I looked at his approval ratings. It's 91% approval in Ukraine. He's managed to unite a generation of people. And if they do hold out the Ukrainians, sorry, Charlie, they will be the heroes for many generations to come. I mean, the President Zelensky will probably be in the history books as the same as Winston Churchill was during the 1940s. It'll be so much more. He'll be the name of the history books that we'll remember for forever. But we're not there yet. I mean, I think the worst out of Russia is still to come, to be fair, Charlie. I mean, today Putin was talking about bringing the nuclear deterrent. Under control. I mean, for goodness sake, I don't think he'll actually do it. I mean, although to be fair, who knows these days? If this report is true that he's fired his, what is it?
Missile or something.
Yeah, defense staff or something like that. I don't know. We don't know whether that's true or not because there's been false reporting about this for the past couple of days now, and it appears to still be unreliable at the moment. But it's incredible how much Russia thought they could, go in there within 24 to 48 hours, just take hold of Ukraine and declare victory. They haven't thought this out. They have underestimated the resilience of the people of Ukraine, the military of Ukraine, and I suppose what's helping as well, Charlie, is the likes of Germany, who sort of held back aid and weapons, have sort of dramatically shifting their defense policy, bringing weapons. I mean, Olaf Scholz announced that he would now commit to 2% of GDP to NATO. That wasn't his policy 24 hours ago. You'd think, unbelievable. That's unrealistic. Now he's going to double the defense department, his defense budget. It's quite extraordinary for Germany to do that sort of thing. The amount of countries that are giving aid to when they wouldn't have normally done in the war is simply incredible. The international community, Charlie, has been mind-blowingly amazing. I've never seen so much unity in the world for this long, and it frankly feels quite special. Actually, it feels quite special that we are helping, even though it's not a NATO ally, Ukraine. We are helping a nation that is under attack like nothing else in this world at the moment. It actually feels quite special thinking about that. And I wish it was like this every day. I know it's not going to be like this every day, but at times like that, Zelensky would have inspired so many people for resilience and for the fact that everyday people in Ukraine are actually joining the military and going to fight for the country. This feels like a wartime effort. It really is, Charlie. It's a special wartime effort. And I have to also feel sorry for the people having to flee, having to get out, and obviously trying to get refugee in like Poland and other countries. I mean, they should be given warm homes and, a new life to begin with where they feel safe. I mean, Poland is definitely one of those countries that they've welcomed them, and there will certainly be other countries that will welcome them as well. But yeah, I feel sorry for the people. You got to know those innocent people are suffering, Charlie. But we've got to also give courageous credit to those on the front line, literally on the front line, who are fighting this out and putting themselves in history books because they've been doing such an amazing job, and it makes me proud to be a Ukrainian supporter at the moment. It really does.
Yeah, and all I can say to Ukrainian people is Slava Ukraini. It's an important part of this invasion. The Ukrainian people standing up. There has been, unfortunately, several hundreds of people that have died so far due to this horrible invasion. There's been missile attacks. There's been, I saw the other day a tank actually ran over a car. This elderly woman made an incredible escape from that.
Yeah.
Truly incredible. But Zach, it's clear to me that the Russians are not overthrowing President Zelensky, which is what we want. We don't want to happen. We don't want to see Zelensky being overthrown and the puppet regime of Putin taking over Kiev. It's clear to me that the Russians should really fail to take Kiev here.
Yeah, this has been, so far, whatever happens, Charlie, a humongous and treacherous failure and a national and worldwide humiliation for the Russian president. There's no doubt about it. This is the most humiliating it's ever been for him. And I have to say for that as well. And he can keep his people in denial. He can ban all the media he wants. He can ban give an alternative reality to his people. And you know, his supporters and everything like that. He's living in a parallel universe and a black hole that is filling up above his head, quite frankly. It's digging in further and further. And it almost feels like he's mentally lost it, Charlie. It really does feel like he's mentally lost it. With what he's been doing and everything like that. He's not thought he's been short-sighted. And he's not thought out the implications, I think, Charlie, for what he's done. Because, as I said before, Charlie, Vladimir Putin's mind is that he thinks everything's a time frame that he thinks this is definitely going to happen, and you know what, that's the only option we have. Well, he's clearly rattled. The fact he's threatening nuclear arms and everything like that. The fact is, it's not gone well for him when he's threatening nuclear arms, because he wouldn't have said this if he got his way. He wouldn't have said this. And he's shocked, quite frankly, about the resilience and the defense that has been put up with him. And I think, Charlie, once all these measures are going to be felt in place, I mean, tomorrow is the stock market in Russia open. That's going to tank like a barrel of oil in the Black Sea, probably, that would. But once the markets start opening tomorrow, and his people can't get money out of banks or anything like that, there's going to be a huge pressure campaign. If the fact is, Charlie, this is whatever the result is, it's a defeat in some ways for Vladimir Putin. It's a total annihilation, because if he gives up and negotiates something with the Ukrainians, it will look like he caved. He'll look like he caved, and it will be viewed as a victory for the Ukrainians. If he doesn't, if he still insists on going through the full powerhouse and doesn't win, I think his own people will turn against him. I mean, we've already seen some of his people turn against him in the streets already, Charlie. I mean, those people are protesting bravely, obviously, because it's obviously Russia's a communist state, so it seems like free speech there is nothing these days. You get state TV and all that sort of thing, and they're given an alternative delusional reality about what's happening there. They're not telling the other side. It's all from the Russia perspective. And it's not working, Charlie. It's really not working. And he's brainwashing people. Yeah, go on, Charlie. Go on.
I was going to say, Zach, will NATO, because obviously I've been reading up reports that he wants to turn on like Sweden and Finland as well about overjoining NATO.
Yeah, it's not up to him to do that, though, Charlie. It's not up to him to dictate what countries do what. He's not in charge of Sweden and Finland. If they want to join NATO, we should welcome them with open arms in the last few days. And quite frankly, the likelihood of Sweden and Finland wanting to join NATO has shot up huge. And I would, if I was, in my opinion, I'd be very happy to see them join NATO after the recent event, Charlie. I just have to say, NATO has been such an important part of why the Ukrainians have held on for so much. All this support from NATO, all the military weaponry support from other countries have been so substantially good. This is where NATO has been affected, Charlie. They have come together in unity to fight against an enemy. And we know NATO have had flaws in the past and everything like that, and you could have a good argument, but the idea that now's the time to abolish NATO after everything is deranged, Charlie. And quite frankly, NATO expansion should really happen after this. Now, I think it deserves. I'm a socialist, Charlie, and me being a socialist, you would think I would be against this NATO. Well, yeah, in an ideal world, we really shouldn't be building these defences. But quite frankly, the worldview changes once something like this happens. It's necessary to start building forces and security and making you feel safe and everything like that. It makes me support NATO even more and want it to expand even more. If you asked me 2 years ago, you'd have thought of being getting rid of NATO would have been somewhat a universal populist view on the left. Now it's not really. I don't think it will be after this, quite frankly. So yeah, it's incredible, Charlie, that actually these forces, which the likes of Nigel Farage have dismissed and everything, are actually working to be effective. We need to not deny reality, Charlie, that European expansion is not the reason why Russia has invaded Ukraine. Russia is the sole reason why they've invaded Ukraine. It's not NATO or European aggression or anything like that. It's Russia. And anyone saying that otherwise is deranged. Absolutely deranged.
Well, this is what Boris Johnson had to say when he addressed the nation, especially the Russian people, after Putin invaded Ukraine. Have a listen to this.
The scenes unfolding in the streets and fields of Ukraine are nothing short of a tragedy. Brave young soldiers and innocent civilians are being cut down. Tanks are rumbling through towns and cities, missiles raining indiscriminately from the skies. It's a generation or more since we witnessed such bloodshed in Europe. We hoped we would never have to see such sights again. The people of the United Kingdom stand with our Ukrainian brothers and sisters in the face of this unjustifiable assault on your homeland. We salute the fierce bravery and patriotism of your government, your military, and your people. I'm in close contact with President Zelensky. And as Prime Minister, I speak for us all in the United Kingdom when I say, once again, Slava Ukraini. This is a tragedy for Ukraine, and so too it is a tragedy for Russia. Like Ukraine, Russia is a great country with a rich history and a proud people. Like Ukraine, Russia's poets and artists and authors have shaped our culture, and Russia's soldiers fought so bravely with us in the struggle against fascism. But Putin's actions are leading to complete isolation for Russia, shunned by the rest of the international community, hit by immense economic sanctions, and facing a needless and bloody war that is already costing countless lives, from innocent Ukrainians to your Russian soldiers who will never see their families again. And to my Russian friends, я не верю, что эта война от вашего имени. This crisis, this tragedy can and must come to an end. Тому що світу потрібна вільна та суверенна Україна. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you to Boris Johnson there for speaking in Russian to the British public there over the invasion of Ukraine. We don't want war. Many sporting stars around the world have actually paid their tributes as well. And if you've not seen since World War II, the air raid sirens have been going off in Kiev and many Russian cities. This is to warn people of an invasion. It's history for you guys. That's 80 years ago. I know it is very annoying that you get these things go off, but that's what happens when you're in a war. Reality is that. And Zach, what do you make to the latest scenes at the moment in Ukraine, the latest updates that we're getting through?
Yeah, the scenes are heartbreaking, Charlie. I mean, they're all sheltered. The people, Kyiv. I should point out they want to be first called Kyiv, by the way, rather than Kiev. It's a bit confusing for me and everything like that, but I believe it's Kiev. The name of the city is. I feel sorry for them. They're under a 36-hour curfew, Charlie, at the moment, and they're sheltered down in little bunkers below, or at home, and it is a sad sight to see. There's may have been many sad sights to see, quite frankly, this week, Charlie. The scenes at train stations where there's been. It reminds me seeing what happened during the Blitz. Children, parents sheltered down, trying to avoid trying to avoid bombs. It reminds me so much of that. The images of what I saw this week, and yeah, it's heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking, Charlie, to see the scenes of people scared to go out the streets and unable to go out the street because one dictatorship country is trying to influence the way of life and how they live and the people that run it. And it's, the Ukrainian people don't want war as much as I expect some Russian people don't want war. They're saying no to this war. We've seen so much solidarity messages across the community, and not just in politics, Charlie, but in sports. So I'll probably get back to that as well. But it's been rather sad to see, and it's sometimes for some people it's hard to not to shed a tear, Charlie, because of what we're seeing. The kids that are are basically suffering. I have to say, Charlie, one of the images that I was proud to see was one parent, I think it was also shelter as well. A parent was pregnant. A woman was pregnant, gave birth to a baby whilst she was hiding underneath. And I have to say, fair play to the people that helped her, because what a sight to see a baby born whilst they're sheltering underneath, whilst the air raid sirens are going off. I can't remember who that parent was, but what a sight it was, Charlie. And that kid will probably remember in 20 years, 10, 20 years time, what it was like to be given birth, not in a hospital, but in a train station where they're all trying to escape. Yeah, it's extraordinary, I have to say that.
It is, Zach, and obviously there was bridges blown up the other day. They tried to defend Kyiv, and I do have the reports for you now of the invasion so far in terms of the number of people who are, the figures of what's been happening at the moment. So in terms of the updates, but what I've been hearing of over 420 Russian troops have died so far in the battle. Many thousands of people have died so far. It's horrible. I can't imagine what pain's going through right now. But all we're going to say is we're going to try and stay positive in this show, and we're going to keep up to date with the latest news as we get it in. But we want to stay positive and keep you entertained. Now, as I said, guys, on Wednesday, there was a bit of a change to the schedule of the Charlie Tolhurst show. We're going to focus a little bit more on topical discussion. So we're going to start off by talking about business news now. Because I want to quickly talk a lot this week, and I know this is going to have some influence to Ukraine a little bit, but we're going to be talking about about our rising inflation here in the UK. Inflation is set to rise in April, which could cost families here living in the UK many problems. Some people might struggle with, say, renting houses out. Some people might struggle renting certain properties out, stuff like that. And it could affect businesses. We know that petrol prices in the UK have risen, I think, to up to about £1.70 a litre now, since this new conflict has came in Ukraine. Zach, where do you see this cost of living crisis heading this year?
I don't think it'll get any better, Charlie. I think this recent crisis will make it worse, because the price of oil and gas is going to go up. It's already been going up since the conflict started, and if the oil and gas prices are going up, so will the fuel prices, the food prices, the cost of, basically putting electricity in your house and everything like that is all going to go up and everything. and it's going to go up more than expected. And if that goes up, inflation goes up as well, which is squeezes the living, and in real terms cuts down on people's finances and incomes and wages at the end of the day. So this crisis only makes things worse. What Russia's managed to successfully do two things: make themselves look like idiots and make people's lives, not just there in Russia, look like idiots, but basically the whole world, because all the prices, inflation, the cost of living is all going to squeeze up again and everything like that. It doesn't help, Charlie, these sort of things, because they are already going up as it is, Charlie. And, in places like the US, it's at a 40-year high of inflation because of what's happening worldwide and everything like that. And, with the experts are basically saying at the moment that we are facing the biggest fall in living standards since the 1950s because of inflation, tax increases, cost of living. It's affecting our living standards, it's affecting people's lives, it's affecting poverty, it's affecting homelessness as well. So yeah, it's affecting a lot of things, Charlie. It's affecting so many areas as well, in areas that we don't want it to happen. I mean, inflation. I think there's one area where we talk about inflation could go up to 8% potentially this year in the UK, which is a measure, something unheard of, quite frankly, here, Charlie. That is unheard of, and quite frankly scary for people who have been squeezing out. And then, but you're going to have interest rates that are probably going to have to go up as well after this, Charlie, even more. I wouldn't be surprised to see they plot them up to 0.75% in the next update or two, because it will have to go up eventually, and this will just accelerate, just cost of living for mortgages, and people sending out mortgages and trying to own homes and everything like that. So it's extremely, extremely costly. The markets probably in Europe are probably going to go up. The markets in Russia are going to go down. And the markets do have some effect, but it does it if our cost of living keeps increasing. That just means incomes, spending powers of households just keep going down, and it causes even bigger problems.
Yeah, we're just getting up the latest reports on the FTSE here, because obviously we do a lot of the news stories have actually said, but it says a 20% dividend year for the FTSE, actually, according to this. The FTSE averages around 4%. This miner has just announced an interim dividend yielding of 20%. So it's clear that people are actually losing as well. It says the FTSE's sharp decline is in response to its risen from 1,000 points since its inception in 1984. So it's clear the FTSE banks are suffering from this invasion of Ukraine. So all I can say is we'll keep you updated with the FTSE 100. We'll keep you to see whether that changes. But moving on now to sport. Lots of sport news to talk about. Formula One we're going to kick off with, because there was plenty of pre-season testing action in Barcelona. Mercedes quickest, one day. Then it was Red Bull. McLaren looked strong. And so did Ferrari. And Zach, what did you take away from pre-season testing in Barcelona?
Well, there's not much to take away, because obviously these are new cars, Charlie, and this is testing. So the fastest car on the time is not exactly the fastest car on the track necessarily overall. Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari are the ones that seem to be up and running with their car. That's from what I'm reading, Charlie. They're the ones that did the most laps. So that's important, because the more laps you get in, the more setups you can do, the more race simulations, qualifying situations you can do, the more to see whether your car is actually improving, actually got the performance. Mercedes, Charlie, it looks good at the moment. I mean, Russell, Hamilton setting really fast times. They were on mostly harder tyres and softer tyres and everything like that. So they're good running at the moment. Ferrari looked all right, I think, from what I saw as well. They've got getting plenty of lap times in as well. Red Bull looks strong as well. I have to say, it's I think those three at the moment look like the best at the moment. And it's interesting the technological innovations, Charlie, that they're doing. For example, like the sideboard and everything like that. And I looked at some images of the sideboard and everything, Charlie. And their teams have been very innovative with the designs of them, so to get more air out of them possible and to get more performance out of them. I think the technological innovation is going to be very interesting this year, Charlie, because obviously we're running under new rules. So, if we're running under new rules, there are going to be many ways to exploit these rules and to see what works on these new regulations. I'm going to be very interested to see what the upgrades are going to be like. Because I think Red Bull are going to bring in upgrades.
Mercedes are bringing some, I think.
Yeah, sorry, Mercedes are bringing upgrades. I think Ferrari are going to bring in upgrades. So it'll be interesting to see what they are. I think Red Bull are going to keep it as it is. Will they bring upgrades to the first race, Charlie? Who knows? If they don't bring upgrades, they probably might feel that their car is doing all right at the moment in terms of that. So yeah, we don't know fully what it's like at the moment, Charlie. I mean, there's going to be technical issues as well. Think about it. So teams are going to have to adapt to that as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, Charlie, what happens at the Bahrain test, which is going to be televised, by the way. All of it's going to be televised, unlike the one that we've seen in Barcelona. It's going to all be televised on Sky, so that'll be good to see. But yeah, and then we'll get a better view of that. But yeah, this is a new Alpha, by the way, which has been in cameo, Charlie, throughout testing. Now we get an actual design livery of it. They swapped the colours around a little bit, so it's still white and pinkish, purpley, pinkish, but it's slightly different because they've swapped the colours around. So there's the whites moved to one side, the reds moved to the other, the pinkish, purplish moved to the other. It was good, I have to say, Charlie. The car looks good. As it's mentioned here, notable car, quite sophisticated front wing, push rods, and a kind of similar package to the Ferrari cooling system and the Hasses as well. So yeah, Haas, by the way, ran without sponsorship on the final day because their sponsor, Charlie, I think is Russian.
Yeah,
and because of their conflict as well, they ran without sponsorship. And the future of Nikita Mazepin is in doubt because of this as well, because Mazepin's obviously got a lot of money brought in by his father. His father's Russian.
Dmitry,
he's Russian, brings lots of Russian funding. And quite frankly, without this funding, who knows what the team's future is going to be, and even the Mazepin's future is going to be. There's a lot of financial difficulties that has got to sort out, I'm afraid. But it is necessary.
It is, Zach, and I have to say as well, Sebastian Vettel voiced concerns during the week over the Russian Grand Prix. That we can confirm to you now, live on the Charlie Tolhurst show on YouTube this evening, that the Russian Grand Prix has been cancelled due to the ongoing invasion in Ukraine. I think it's the right decision to keep the sport safe.
Absolutely.
And we are expecting a replacement for that race in due course. We could expect to see potentially Portimao in Portugal or Istanbul Park in Turkey as one of the front runners to take over the slot in Russia. So we'll keep you updated on that. But Zach, with the testing, I have to say, Red Bull looked good on the long runs. McLaren and Ferrari looked good on the high-speed corners. Mercedes clearly had the edge on the final day. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how we get to Bahrain in FP1 when we start really finding out what these teams are capable of doing. I have a feeling, though, that one team that will have a lot of work to do is going to be Alpine, because they didn't have exactly the greatest of pre-season tests.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly teams got to bring an upgrade, Charlie. Next time round, as well, expect the likes of AlphaTauri to bring upgrades, developments to increase as well. AlphaTauri, they've been testing out things a little bit there as well. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what it's like when we get to Bahrain. There'll certainly be upgrades. It's a different circuit as well. It's more hotter circuit than say Barcelona. So the cooling systems are going to have to test all the cooling system out. Going to have to test the tyres out. Certainly, Charlie. Setup's going to have to be different. It'll be an interesting circuit to test out because we might see the true pace of the cars then.
Yeah. I think as well, Alonso did break down, and then the final day we had Guan Yu Zhou causing 2 red flags, and then we had Sergio Perez causing a red flag on day 2 of the first test with through his Red Bull's gearbox apparently decided to blow up. But yeah, plenty of red flags, plenty of everything really. So Formula One will be moving to Bahrain. We're going to keep you updated on Formula One testing because I think there's been a lot of changes, a lot of news on Formula One at the moment. We know that the Russian Grand Prix isn't going ahead. We also know the Champions League final also will be moving to France instead of St. Petersburg due to the ongoing conflict over in Ukraine. But moving on now to IndyCar, the big race of the weekend. I haven't seen the race, but I have checked the results. I know, Zach, you've probably kept a close eye on this race here. Scott McLaughlin winning from pole position.
Yeah, Scott McLaughlin was the winner. His first ever win, I believe, actually, in IndyCar. And congratulations to him. He held off Alex Palou in the last laps of the race. Very close race, I have to say, Charlie. Within a 4/10 finish of that. He got his first ever pole position on the Saturday, converted that into a victory on the Sunday by the skin of his teeth as well. So yeah, it was a massive win for Scott McLaughlin in the final stages as well. Powell was third, Coulthard fourth, Romain Grosjean impressive 5th place position. Rinus van Kamerholt, I think this is his first race, Charlie, 6th position, good result for him. Yeah. As well, Graham Rahal, Scott Dixon, Marcus Ericsson, and Takuma Sato finishing the top 10 as well. Jimmy Johnson held up McLaughlin in the 13 to go, but it didn't really matter at the end of the day because McLaughlin managed to hold on as well to win the race. And great race for McLaughlin. And you could see the delight as well, Charlie, when he ran that race was quite something. It was his first win, but what a great race he ran.
Yeah, there was a couple of I think a couple of people that did. I'm not sure if there's any retirements, but there was a couple of people that I've got on here. I think were at the bottom of the field. Yeah. Dalton Kellett, 25th, had a mechanical issue. David Malukas having contact as well for the number 5 car as well.
I didn't see. I missed the first 30 laps of it because I don't know why. I forgot it was on for a moment, and I saw the last 71 odd laps of it, so I didn't see that early incident. But there obviously was some sort of incident as well that caused them to be out. Unlucky for them, but Jimmy Johnson 23rd, that's the position. Callum Ilott, new debut as well, 19th. Kyle Kirkwood 18th. Christian Lundgaard 11th as well. So there's some of the positionings there.
Best of the rookies for Christian Lundgaard.
Christian Lundgaard 11th place. Rinus VK 6th as well. Yeah, so all right, that's a good first race. I'm looking forward to the next one, Charlie.
Yeah, and the next IndyCar race, we're going to tell you now where it is. It is the XPEL 375, which I think that's at Texas Motor Speedway, 20th of March for that event. It's going to be very interesting when we go to Texas there as well. Also with the standings, I will just go over the top 10 drivers for you whilst we're here. So it was Scott McLaughlin, 3-time Australian V8 Supercar champion, taking the win with Alex Palou 2nd, Will Power 3rd, Colton Herta 4th, Romain Grosjean 5th, Rinus VK 6th, Graham Rahal 7th, Scott Dixon 8th, Marcus Ericsson 9th, and Takuma Sato, who had a bit of a bust up with Romain Grosjean in qualifying, I think, or practice, finishing 10th for Dale Coyne Racing. And also Romain Grosjean moving to Andretti this year as well. But Joseph Newgarden not having a very good race, down in 18th position. will be wanting to improve, I'm sure, going to Texas as well. Alexander Rossi, another disappointing race for him, 20th. Tatiana Calderon, the only female driver in the field, the lady and the gentleman of the race. Obviously, lady is Tatiana Calderon, 24th. I believe is one of the test drivers used to be a test driver for Sauber F1 team. So, yeah, very interesting there. IndyCar's next race is going to be obviously taking place in Texas. But moving on now to NASCAR, they go this weekend to the Auto Club Raceway, which I believe it's a new race for the Cup Series this year. I think I'm not sure it's been on the calendar for quite some time. But yes, it's at Fontana. It's Auto Club 400. The starting grid has been announced. It's an 8:30 race tonight that they go for Austin Cindric, who will be on pole. I think it's done by the lineups from previous races. But we did have, I believe, the Xfinity races and the Camping World Truck Series races that did take place. And we'll start in the Xfinity, where Cole Custer won that race. And Zach, there was plenty of action in the rest of that NASCAR weekend.
I think there was 13 cautions that race, Charlie, as well. It was Cole Custer that won it ahead of No Grace and Trevor Bayne, who's doing, I think, a part-time in that one as well. Josh Berry in 4th, Alfa Alfredo in 5th, Scott Mayers 6th, LJ Allmendinger in 7th, Justin Allgaish, Reese Hurst in 9th, Ryan Sieg in 10th as well. So, yeah, that was a long old race, Charlie, I have to say. That was a very long old race there as well, with multiple cautions, and it resulted in Cole Custer being the winner. I have to say, it was a very good race, Charlie. One of the most exciting I've seen Auto Club as well. There, just to correct each other, there wasn't a Camping World Truck Series race this week, and they're off at Las Vegas next week.
Oh, no, that's at Las Vegas. Yeah, apologies.
Yeah, but the Cup Series race is about to start as well in just a couple of minutes as well. Austin Cindric is the one on pole ahead of Eric Jones. Kyle Busch is in 3rd.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin's 4th. Daniel Hemrick in 5th. Ryan Blaney is 6th. Joe Logano is 7th. Chase Elliott 8th. Brad Keselowski's 9th. William Byron's on the top 10 as well. Looking for the race is just about to get on way in a couple or about probably 30-40 seconds time. I have it on one of my screens here in a picture whilst I'm chatting to you. So it's about to start. And yeah, we'll be probably talk about that next week as well.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously the next NASCAR Cup Series race. We're going to go over the Xfinity Race Series now as well. Just going to update you when the next race is. So that was the Production Alliance Group 300. The next Xfinity race is at Las Vegas for the Alesco Uniforms 300. The Camping World Truck Series is back at Las Vegas. Do apologise, as I thought it was this weekend, but it's not. It's the race at Las Vegas, taking place early Saturday morning. Cup Series. After that, another famous race, the Pennzoil 400, presented by Jiffy Lube, is back on the 6th of March. Would you believe that? That isn't only just over a week before my birthday, believe it or not. So I get to watch a race before my birthday. That'd be interesting to find out for 15th of March, by the way, when I'm turned 19. So that'd be very good indeed for that one. But that's all the sport. Actually, we're gonna quickly, before we move on, there was a football match today, the EFL Cup final. I think that was a big event. This one, Chelsea and Liverpool taking part. And it was full time. But Liverpool, I believe, won that event on penalties.
He did. Liverpool won that one on penalties. Kepa was the one that missed for Chelsea. They scored so many goals, I think, in the penalties. It was 20 goals that was scored. And then it took to the 22nd goal for there to be a miss and for Liverpool to win. It was quite a feisty match all round, I think, Charlie.
Yeah.
Certainly around, I think, from what I saw. But Liverpool won on penalties by the skin of the teeth after Kepa missed Ariba missed the one as well. Chelsea are in the headlines this weekend as well. Should point out a Russian link as well. Roman Abramovich is sort of kind of stepping away from the Chelsea ownership, although he's giving it to the trustees, I believe, the charitable ones. In legal status, I don't know what the hell that means, really, to be fair, Charlie, because it means that Roman Abramovich is still the lawful owner of the club. We don't know what's happening there in terms of that. But Roman Abramovich is one of those Russian oligarchs that have supported Putin, owns Chelsea Football Club, and I have to say, still hasn't been sanctioned yet fully by the UK government, and needs to be done so quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated with that news, obviously, from Russia and Ukraine. And also, Roman Abramovich doesn't look like he's going to be heading back to Chelsea anytime soon. But moving on now to Conversation Corner, week 8 of The Apprentice UK now. A task on motorsport this time. You're going to host a day out with motorsport at Silverstone. Team Diverse and Infinity taking on the roles there. Infinity went for a completely different edge on their day. They went for a track tour and then also for a pit stop experience, whilst Diverse went for a museum tour that wasn't exactly great, and also a cooking, should I say, they tried to cook al fresco, but not quite al fresco, a long way off that, for Nick and Ashkay, or Nick and Akshay on that one. But Zach, in the end, Nick got fired by Lord Sugar. And
yeah, Nick was the one that got fired as well. He was quite brutally fired in as well. I didn't actually see this episode because unfortunately I was following the news on Ukraine as well. But yeah, it was mainly a Silverstone experience they had to do. Nick was the one that failed to live up to that in the boardroom and got fired as well in that one. I mean, Nick was sounds by the look of it, a clumsy candidate from what he did and what happened as well. So, you know, it's an interesting fight. I didn't think personally from what I saw as well. There's been going rumours around that, you know, I was reading this as well, apparently, that he was having some sort of feelings for a fellow candidate, which he's has denied. Oh dear! Imagine fancying someone in the Apprentice. Ooh, it'll be a bit of a hard business, I have to say, Charlie, in that son. But yeah, that Nick was the one that got fired, and he's the next contestant out as well. Next week, Charlie, they are going to do something a little bit different. Episode 9, so 4 episodes left. They're going to sell. They're going to be selling live to the nation on one of the TV and shopping channels, Charlie, and they must identify products to sell, do a promo to boost sales, and do all always in 1 hour primetime sales slot on TV, and the one that generates the most sales is going to be fired. It's going to be Winter Challenge. The one that generates the least failure will be fired, Charlie, as well. So it will all be about selling and promoting and being a little bit of a celebrity star on one of the shopping channels. If you noticed them already, then obviously give a shout out. But I wouldn't notice any of them because I don't watch the shopping channels. So there you
go. Yeah, Nick became the 8th candidate to lead the process. But I have to say, when I actually did watch the episode, fortunately, and I have to, I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but the cooking for Nick and Akshay didn't go that well. Akshay was in the boardroom, and in the final 3 for the 5th time in 8 weeks, he's only been on the winning team once. Zach, how has he made it this far? Wow.
God knows how, no, Charlie. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest miracles that you would have ever seen for a candidate to be in the bottom so many times and yet get it so far. There must be some redeeming quality that you find about him. Honestly, there must be some sort of redeeming quality. You know, that to keep him going there. It's quite something, Charlie. It really is.
Yeah, Akshay lives on another day in The Apprentice. Will he still be in the final 3? Or will he be in the interview stage? We just don't know. We'll keep you updated with all the latest news as we come in on that one. But moving on now, we're going to finish the show off with the papers. As always, we're going to keep an eye out on the papers. As I'm sure you know, this will be dominated by Ukraine, but we'll also try and get some other papers as well, or other news stories up that are going to try and make people more cheerful. And then we'll also finish the show with the Great British Star and Red Devil of the Week. We'll do something hopefully a bit more positive on that. But we're going to go over for the newspapers. Here we go. Let's get them up for you now. So here comes the newspapers once they are loaded up. Here we go. So this is the newspapers in question. The Observer says, the world shuns Para Putin. The top headline there. A photo of a 5-year-old Ukrainian boy taking a refugee family in an underground shelter. I mean, that is quite simply a pretty beautiful photo of a little boy holding a little bear, a teddy bear there. Oh, very interesting indeed. Reminds me of Splash Mountain at Walt Disney World with that one, with a little rabbit there. In the Sunday Times, terror stalks the streets. Ukrainian volunteers hunt traitors and the Kremlin spies as fears grip on Kyiv. And Liz Truss prepare for 10 years of war, right, when Abramovich gives up to Chelsea. The Sunday Telegraph claims that fierce resistance slows as Putin advances in Ukraine. As well, Michael Gove also calls for seizures of pro-Kremlin oligarchs' mansions as well. The Sunday Express claims Ukraine's resistance is praised by UK's Europe minister, with the caption there, Lion Hearts, as well. The Sunday Mirror says the fight is here. Picture there of Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, on the paper there, standing outside the capital saying he will not leave. He wants to stay with his family. The Daily Star also has the caption, we won't run and hide. Sunday People says freedom fighters, defiant heroes strike back at Russian invaders. Zach, what do you make of today's papers?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously it's dominated by Russia, Ukraine. Let's start off the Reserve. The world shuns power. Putin is obviously talking about these financial sanctions that the EU have, many other countries across the world have done against Russia. Actually, if we talk about SWIFT, the exporting trades, the asset freezes, they're certainly going to be felt painful effect. It's not only a painful effect as well in the financial world, presumably for them, but the people of Ukraine as well. This is the 5-year-old, I think, did you say, Charlie? That is there with his teddy bear, obviously hiding in one of the shelters, Charlie, as well with many other people. And look, that's a lovely teddy bear there. I just I hope that the teddy bear is giving him lots of hope and lots of prayers, actually, that this isn't going to last much longer as it can. The Sunday Times goes for terror stalks the street. This is obviously the Ukrainian army as well doing the job. As well, as you can see, that must be some sort of explosion that happened there because they're all hiding down the bottom. As you can see, all the glass and the debris as well, as they try to shut out the noise and everything like that. And look at the work of the Ukrainian army there, doing the job, having to hide and shelter, all that sort of thing as well. It's all these are volunteers, by the way, Charlie. They're not full-time army members. They're volunteers that have stepped up out of the blue and decided that, you know what, we want to take part in our saving of the country. And yeah, this is what they've done, and they've done a splendid job doing it, and they should be proud as well. Liz Truss is predicting the war could go on for 10 years. Goodness.
I don't think that's probably an accurate prediction.
Yeah. If you think COVID is bad, 10 years of war in Ukraine, it's going to feel a lot worse, Charlie. Let me say that. 10 years. No. Fierce resistance shows Putin's advance in Ukraine. And I have to say, Charlie, as well, it's the Ukrainians that have put up a fierce resistance that they had. As I said before, Charlie, we look at Russia, thought they were going to get Kiev in 24, 48 hours. It hasn't happened because the Russians have managed to utilize their military much better, and it feels like Russia's failed to plan. And it feels like they're not planned ahead. They've lived through one dim view of trying to get only, without the implications of the defensive methods that the Ukrainians are going to put. Charlie, it's just a stunning job that the Ukrainian army have done. They've managed to stop Russia taking over any territorial cities and areas, Charlie. It's an incredible job they've done. that it really is at the moment. Let's go down to see another paper, the Sunday Express. UK's resistant prey by UK's European Lion Hearts. Incredible job, absolutely, Charlie, of them. Really incredible job. William Kate speaking out as well. The Ukraine president, we will fight as long as it takes to liberate our country. I mean, they are putting up a fight, Charlie. I mean, they've lasted this long and it's still going completely strong. The Sunday Mirror, let's go with that as well. The fight is here. This is Zelensky's hero troops each other. Look, Zelensky's done daily messages and updates as well, speeches. It's stunning. The thing about President Zelensky, Charlie, he used to be a comedian. He used to be a film actor. He used to be a film actor doing all these roles, and now he sometimes he is the film itself, Charlie. He is the film actor in today's world. He could, in the future, if you wanted, Charlie, when this is done in about, if he's still alive, he could act in his own invasion if he really wanted to. There's someone a production company could say, "Hey, we're going to make a film out of this. Do you want to be the lead actor and everything like that?" He could say yes if he really wanted to, and he'd be perfect for it. It really would be perfect. He is the lead actor, and he's the lead star. Well, he's not the actor; he's the star, Charlie. He really is the hide. We won't run and hide, as the Daily Star says as well. Again, on his webcam, he's out as well, resilient, and he's part of the army. That's really part of this, Charlie. It's an incredible job as well. It really is incredible. Sunday people, freedom fighters as well, because they, as you know, Ukraine wants to be a free country without interference from Russia or anybody else, and they are living up to really living up to their freedom fighters, Charlie. It is simply incredible, and they are freedom fighters.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, to people watching this is really important that all you guys understand that the whole Ukrainian people deserve recognition, deserve respect. Vladimir Klitschko spoke out the other day about the situation. He vowed to fight for his country, fight for whatever he brings.
Vitaly Klitschko, sorry, he's the mayor of Kiev, and that's his brother speaking out, appearing on camera directly. Is quite something. Yeah,
it's a huge one here. I mean, you have to think: is this a man or someone who is truly special to the world of which he lives in? I have to say, I agree. There's a lot here. There's a lot in terms of what you can do. I'm just getting up a few more papers whilst we're here, actually, because I think I did miss one out that came up. We've got a paper there from the Sun that's just popped up that I wanted to quickly show you guys. The Sun did report something on here. The Sun went for a newspaper called Vladimir Putin's Crush Ukraine is being wrecked by astonishing fight back to the death. Fight to the death was the headline for that one. The heroes hit back at Putin. His convoy is destroyed, but rockets blast Kyiv. You can actually see a picture there of a missile attacking, I think, a block of flats, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the missile. That is hitting civilian buildings, unfortunately. I'm afraid, Charlie. The Russians claim that this is all for Donbass and everything like that. They're just full of Pinocchios, really, because they're hitting buildings. They are hitting innocent people, unfortunately. They're not the targets. They're hitting hospitals. They're hitting airports. I guess they hit a gas line, I believe, in near Kiev. So, this is... They're hitting things that they shouldn't be hitting, quite frankly. And they're committing war crimes, quite frankly, against international treaties and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it is horrible, but all we can say is we want to stay positive as we can. These people are putting up a great fight. So Slava Ukraini is what we want to say to that. But we're going to move on now and finish the show off with the Great British Star and Red Devil of the week. I'm going to give my Great British Star to President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine for what he has done in terms of his achievements to Ukraine, but also to this person here. You won't believe this. Another nomination to my Great British Star was this. If you saw Anonymous as well, the whole point idea of Anonymous appearing won my Great British Star of the Week. Volodymyr Zelensky got my nomination as well. But this was Anonymous right here for you guys. Because the nomination goes to this person. Anonymous was saying it was at war with Russia hours before the outage because, unfortunately, as you see here, the Kremlin websites actually went down as a result of sanctions imposed by countries. So
That's
this person
incredible.
here claims Anonymous is at war with Putin. Stay tuned. That was on my list there. So that one, them two win my Great British Star of the Week. The Red Devil of the Week. Well, we're going to have two Red Devils. I'm going to give my one to Vladimir Putin for causing the invasion of Ukraine. I think that was a complete mistake by him. To say that he wants to overthrow President Zelensky is just stupid, frankly. But also, I'm going to give my Red Devil of the Week as well. And you'll be surprised, another nomination that has appeared on my list quite a few times, actually. Because if you would have seen recently, my Red Devil of the Week is going to go to someone who hasn't had a very good week in terms of his overall ratings, and someone I think who quite simply is in trouble. And my Red Devil of the Week, and you won't believe who I'm going to say this, is actually going to be a football manager. Marcelo Bielsa gets my Red Devil of the Week. Now,
yes.
I say Marcelo Bielsa is my Red Devil of the Week because Leeds didn't have a great result when they played Tottenham the other day. And as a result, Marcelo Bielsa got the sack. And yeah, he won my Red Devil of the Week because he unfortunately left Leeds United. Zach, what do you make of the nominations for
interesting? Yeah, no, I agree with your choices, Charlie, to be fair. Marcelo Bielsa, and yeah, he got sacked by Leeds. Liked by Leeds fans, by the way. But the 4-0 loss against Spurs killed it for him as his managerial career. He's hovering above the relegation zone. So he's in a bit of trouble as it is. But the British Stars, yeah, absolutely. In terms of my choices, I have to say I'm going to get also one Zelensky, definitely one of them. Two Anonymous, definitely as well. I'm also going to give a third one as well, Charlie, of star as well. I'm going to give it to the Ukrainian army and one particular lot who were fighting against the Russians on one of the islands. And a very famous quote came out of them, Charlie. I think one of them, where one of them said they were fighting, and the Russians told them to give the island up, and then one of the soldiers went, "Russian army, go F yourself." And they went viral after saying that, and I have to say, what a job they did of going viral, Charlie, because that was an incredibly effective quote that will be remembered for a long time. So those soldiers are definitely going to be part of the Stars of the Week for me as well. Red Devil as well. You could name any of them. Putin, one of them. Definitely one of them. Vladimir Putin. The Russian oligarchs are going to be certainly that one. I'm also going to give it to as well. I would have said it before tonight. I'm going to give it to FIFA as well. A third Red Devil for me because they decided not to kick the Russians out at the moment. They've announced tonight that Russia will have to play any football matches in a neutral location without the flag, without the anthem, without fans in the stadium, and under a different name. But I think they're just so pathetic. It's so pathetic, Charlie, because the teams that are playing against them in the World Cup playoffs are boycotting, deciding not to play to them as well, Charlie. And quite frankly, this is a ridiculous measure. That means if they do have to play against them, it's a waste of time, Charlie. And FIFA needs to get their head out there their plumbing's really, to be fair as well. And also, I'm going to add as well. I'm going to add a fourth factor. I'm going to give it to the Eurovision Song Contest for kicking Russia out, because every year we're treated to their present, not a pretty one, but we're treated to their present. And after a little bit of pressure, they did eventually kick them out. So I'm going to give it to the organizer of the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm definitely going to give it to the Ukrainian army for another one as well, and President Zelensky as well. Definitely, certainly as well. Sorry, as well. Sorry, not sorry. I'm going to give it to FIFA. Putting the Russian oligarchs, and the Red Devils. Sorry, excuse me. Got clarified.
The Red Devil. It's clear you got a lot of nominations, Zach. As I said earlier,
nominations. I'm mixing them up now, but yeah, that's definitely my Red Devils.
As I said earlier, Zach, like, what did you make of when the Kremlin's accounts got hacked? I bet that was a bit crazy.
Oh, that was. Do you know what? I'm not a fan of hacking people's accounts, Charlie, because we know we're not in general. I'm not a fan of it. But this, for the benefit of good, absolutely. We need to expose the Kremlin, and I quite frankly, they might well be going after Belarus next potentially, because Belarus have been supporting the Russians in this invasion in some ways. There may well be peace talks tomorrow, but the Belarusians have got every much responsibility for this invasion as they do in Russia. And if Enormous goes after them, then great job. Do it on the Belarusian government, because that would just be great to see.
Yeah, and as well as that as well, I was just going to say that a lot of people, and also as well the other nominations, I think clearly FIFA. Yeah, I think also as well the IPC. Well, the Paralympic Winter Games are on next week. Will Russia be a part of that? And obviously Nikita Mazepin staying in Formula One. Yeah, we just don't know. I would expect Haas to announce something next week regarding the future of their sponsorship as well. I do expect to see new sponsors at Haas, and also a potential driver change for Nikita Mazepin as well. But that is all we got time for today on the Charlie Tolhurst Show. We'll be back again next Sunday for another episode of the show. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you again next week for more great content. Take care, everyone, and goodbye.